Greetings, brave traveler. As always, I hope you're having a fan-frickin-tastic day. Today we're going to take a look at the fight Morogrim, also known as the Guild Breaker. This fight does come with a lot of problems, alright? One of them being those pesky murlocs getting aggro on your healer. Or your tank's not being able to pick them up because they just got put in a giant bubble. Or your AoE DPS not being strong enough to take down the murlocs. Or your tank getting one shot by a parry haste. No big deal. They'll just disappear. There's a lot going on in this fight. However, I come with my POV, and in that POV, I'll be discussing all those little details as we go along in the fight and talking about things that I can improve on personally, and hopefully along the way that helps you. And then also I'll talk about some of the things that can cause problems for your guild and how to maybe address them or tweak them to make this fight a little bit easier and more reliable for you week to week. So thank you so much for checking this video out. If you find this useful, this series is going to continue for the rest of the bosses throughout Serpentshrine Cavern, as well as the rest of the bosses in Tempest Keep or the Eye. Please hit the subscribe button before you go, and that way you can keep up with it. It'll be nice and easy for all of us. All right, God of Lulz, say less. It's time for the POV video. Let's go.
Energy. Power. My people are addicted to it. A dependence made manifest after the Sunwell was destroyed. Welcome to the future. Do not get too comfortable. My demise accomplishes nothing. The Master will have you. You will drown in your own blood. The world shall burn!
Okay, so getting right into the action, we refreshed our water shield. We're going to start a standard Elemental Shaman opener once the tank has threat, of course. So some of the things that I talked about in the intro of the video is avoiding things like parry haste on your tank, talking about murlocs, which we'll get to in a moment. Biggest thing to avoiding parry haste on your tanks, make sure melee standing behind the boss fully. If they're on the sides, towards like the front left leg, it's very possible that they will get parried, and in getting parried, it risks the chance of your tank getting parry hasted on, which would then one-shot them. This combo happens sometimes when transitioning, because melee are moving with the boss. Sometimes they step a little too far forward, twist their bodies a little bit, and parry onto the tank. So be careful for that. So you had Murloc spawn. You'll see that there are frost traps down at the entryways, as well as underneath us to kind of help with kiting if needed. What we do as shamans is we spawn our fire elemental totem the moment the first wave hits the boss. So the tank should have plenty of threat. You're not going to lose your fire elemental totem here. It's just going to pump on the adds. So it's popping AoE. We are currently kind of just focusing the boss. So what we want to do is tunnel the boss and cleave the adds, right? This whole time. Something to look out for is what I didn't do here, and what I normally do now is I'll throw myself a lesser healing wave just to get myself above that 60-70% health threshold, just in case I get graved. Because if I get graved, I'm not guaranteed to get a heal. Like, it's totally possible. In fact, I think that person that died just died to that grave, that we can avoid dying to as shamans because we could just heal ourselves a little bit. It won't give us that much threat. The adds won't run right to us. It'll be fine. Just save yourself. It's crucial. I have died to this, so I don't want you to. So what we're doing here is standard pumping on the boss while our fire elemental does all of our AoE. Shortly, you'll see that our fire elemental does die. It turns out the AoE pulse kills your fire elemental totem over time. So keep that in mind. As soon as you see it drop, switch your totems around. So we're going to drop our totem of wrath for now because our murlocs aren't up yet. That way it'll give us, you know, our little bit of extra crit. It'll help our party, whichever classes you have in your party. Some weeks it's warlock, some weeks it's magus and shadow priest. You never know what's happening depending on your comp and how it changes from week to week. Once our elemental is gone, our form of AoE contribution to the murlocs is both of our AoE fire totems, so we drop them in tandem with one another. So long as there's more than 6 murlocs alive, you're getting value out of those totems, right? So drop your main AoE totems in rotation with one another, obviously prioritizing Fire Nova Totem. Makes sense. But that whole time, you're still cleaving off of the boss. So you're hitting the boss primarily. You're not switching targets to Murlocs. There are very few exceptions to that rule unless you're desperate to get Murlocs down as quickly as possible before the next phase. So that all being said, things that you can help to avoid getting healers killed are things like bops, for example. So if like a Resto Druid says, okay, I want a Trink here, call for a bop. That way the Murlocs won't run right to the Resto Druid who's getting a ton of aggro at that point. I also don't necessarily recommend doing things like that as a healer, but if you get desperate and scared and need to, call for those bops to make sure that you're covered so that your group can continue to take care of the Murlocs correctly, primarily your tanks getting them in under the boss or cleave. Watery Graves, it's imperative that you have a healer assigned to Watery Grave. And that healer needs to be up and able to do it. And if they get Watery Graved, you need to have a healer that can back them up. So make sure that your raid leader's assigning those things. If they're not, I would recommend trying to get them in a one-on-one to maybe talk about, you know, better ways to manage this fight. This fight is very intense for a lot of roles. So DPS, it's just like go, 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 go. Tanks, they're constantly busy. Your main tank is scared of getting destroyed quite often. Your healers need to be up. So we move to this corner spot. In that time, in that transition, the healer has to move. The healers have to move with the tanks, right? So all of that being said, I think something that's crucial is to have the right comp for this. So we usually run 2 to 3 warlocks, 1 to 2 arcane mages, and then us shamans helping with fire elemental totems and chain lightnings and all that stuff. So it's imperative that you have that comp or a very strong version of that comp, so keep that in mind. Comp is important in this fight when it comes to the AoE portion. Dealing with the Murlocs is crucial. You want to kill the Murlocs before the new wave of Murlocs comes to your group. If you don't, you're going to run into a lot of problems. Your tanks are going to get crushed constantly. I don't even know if it's possible that your healer could keep your tanks alive through 2 waves of Murlocs, because they're already getting destroyed on 1. All right, so we've got down to the end of the fight here. If there's any other things that I didn't cover or comments or questions that you have, please feel free to hit them up in the comment section. Otherwise, I will see you in a moment. All right, folks, what you just saw was the Elemental PoV for Morogrim, aka the Guild Breaker, in Serpentshrine Cavern. I hope any and all of that was useful or entertaining to you, and if it was, do not forget to hit the subscribe button before you go, as well as smash the like button. And our next video in this series will be on Alar in the Eye / Tempest Keep for you lovely folks. So until next time, farewell.